Twitter is squirming. At least the old regime. You may remember that Elon Musk brought it. Old regime kicked out. Well, for some weird reason, they were called to give evidence in front of Congress. And all of the old suspects were there with their little name tags.
Yep.
And, of course, now the Twitter files are out. Everyone can see what they've been up to for the last few years and every piece of corruption they engaged in. So, of course, it was good fun. And I think we'd enjoy some fun of just them getting grilled. We'll start off with something just promoting on the website. So this is the Germany Must Perish speech I gave, which is not my opinion. It was the opinion of one man during the Second World War who was a bit mad.
Is that you?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember...
You take a very nice photo. You look quite...
I'm not taking the photo.
No. I think, yeah. You look like one of those models in the old Gus catalogues that, advertising a waistcoat and a shirt.
Well, thank you. But I have lost... Well, I hope I've lost some weight since
Well,
then.
now, if you go too lefty and get sacked, you don't have to be a burglar. You can be a model.
Yes, that's the lesson for all of you left wing. Anyway, but the historian here was basically some guy in America. I believe he was from Germany or something, and he was a Jewish chap. And because he was Jewish, he took what the Germans were saying about the Jews, not very personally, of course. This is before people knew the Holocaust was happening.
Yeah.
They were just that they were being horribly discriminated against, moved into the ghettos. And so he wrote a book calling for the extermination of all Germans. And it's just like, oh, no. Because, of course, the Germans got it and were like, see, their plan for us. And it actually got so high. I believe the President of the United States at the time had to issue a statement being like, funnily enough, ranting lunatic in New York is not my plan.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, but go and check it out. It's good fun for, a stupid story. So, moving on to the Twitter guys squirming. Well, Summit News has the story. Former Twitter executives squirm as they're told they could be arrested for election interference. I really hope so. I'm a bit skeptical because Republicans have done this endlessly. They're like, let's bring Jack Dorsey in and grill him and then forget about it for the next 4 years.
I'd like to see someone arrested for something because the Twitter files have landed.
You guys were interfering in democracy.
And nothing seemed to happen.
Yeah, because as we go through this, the real question is, so what did these guys do? Well, they suppressed stories supporting one candidate on a massive scale to the point they may have flipped the election on that aspect alone. And in which case, what do we do about that? Because we don't live in the age of the printing press. Like, this is, what if all of the newspapers in 1980, and I mean all of them, and decided that a story wasn't true, weren't going to print it, even though it obviously was. Yeah. And then one paper bucked the trend, and the printing presses were burnt down overnight. And then the candidate the story was about won the election. I mean, that's obvious corruption on a social scale that's akin to some kind of fascist era. And, well, what's the punishment for doing that? That's the real question. Societally, we have to answer, because this is the first case in which we can provably say this has happened. We've got the suspects, and we've got them grilling here. Well, I think if the Republicans actually want to make any kind of statement about how a society should be run, yes, someone has to be arrested. Because a message has to be sent that if you are in charge of a mega tech company that controls information, you can't be allowed to run the country through the whim of your political bias to the point that you run it like a fascist hermit kingdom. It's messed up.
Can they prove that anyone's lied to Congress
in
these hearings? Because I believe that's a real serious crime over there.
At least one of them we can definitely do. Well, two of them we can do, actually. So the hearing was called to investigate the role the government played, specifically the FBI, in regards to censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story by the New York Post. So there's another whole group of people who need to be arrested. I mean, I've seen some Republicans go as far as be like, let's just disband the FBI. And I'm not unsympathetic, given how they act. So, former Twitter chief legal officer, the JJ over there, former deputy counsel James Baker, and former global head of trust and safety, Mr. Roth. Yeah. Mr. Roth's going to be the main focus of the lying. They were all grilled by representatives, with Congressman Clay Higgins telling them they could be arrested for interfering in the 2020 presidential election. So I suppose we'll just enjoy that, shall we? Let's play the first clip.
So the FBI used its relationship with Twitter to suppress criminal evidence being revealed about Joe Biden 1 month before the 2020 elections. You, ladies and gentlemen, interfered with the United States of America 2020 presidential election, knowingly and willingly. That's the bad news. It's going to get worse, because this is the investigation part. Later comes the arrest part.
Which I'm looking forward to, if they're actually going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical, because I think that a lot of the Republicans like to do this just to raise money for themselves.
Of course.
But they deserve it. And also, well, we've got them lying under oath just in this setting anyway. But he's utterly right as well. It is really funny how the endless argument of, like, don't you know the Republicans are working with the Russians to interfere with the election? And then it turns out, no, you guys literally were. We have the emails. You were working with the FBI to do it.
Yeah.
Every time they accuse you of something, it's always them. I mean, the most recent thing, like Donald Trump, he's got nuclear codes in his basement that he's not keeping safe. Then like a week later, yeah, it turns out Joe Biden may have had some really secret documents in his house. Don't want to talk about that. Every goddamn time. But we'll go to the next link here. This is some representative who calls out former Twitter employees for LARPing as medical experts and silencing views that don't fit the narrative. Can't talk about that on YouTube, so great. Still living under the state censorship through the back door. Because the thing is, of course, if the FBI is working with Twitter to suppress speech, it's not just Twitter. The FBI and the CIA are working with Google. The FBI and CIA are working with YouTube.
With all of them. All that happened there was no one ever foresaw that someone like Elon Musk would buy Twitter.
Yeah. And the way it's been kept legal is that, well, the state's not censoring you.
Yeah,
it's just a private company.
Yeah.
Obviously unconstitutional. And the burden there does ultimately lie at the head of the FBI or whatever, but either way, the people at the companies as well need to face some comeuppance. We'll go to Jim Jordan, who says that you lot got played by the FBI in a very funny clip. It's a bit long, but I think we'll enjoy, so let's play that.
No one knows? Okay. So the FBI didn't tell you that it was fake, didn't tell you that it was hacked. And Mr. Roth, did the story violate your policies?
In my judgment at the time, no, it did not.
Yeah, that's what you said. Said what I would propose, is you said, it isn't clearly a violation of our hack materials policy, nor is it clearly a violation of anything else. So I think what a lot of people are wondering is if it didn't violate your policies and they didn't tell you it was fake, didn't tell you it was hacked, why'd you take it down?
The company made a decision that found that it did violate the policy. It wasn't my personal judgment at the time that it did, but the decision was communicated to me by my direct supervisor, and ultimately I didn't disagree with it enough to object to
You know what I think happened, Mr. Roth? I think you guys got played. I think you guys wanted to take it deep down. We saw what the chairman put up where you said, everyone in the White House is a fascist. I think you guys wanted it to be taken down. I think you meet with these guys every week. We know that's been established in the Twitter files. You had weekly meetings with Mr. Chan in the run-up to the election. They send you all kinds of emails. They send you documents on the super secret James Bond teleporter. You get information on that. I think you guys wanted to take it down. I think you guys got played by the FBI. And that's the scary part. Because we had 50, this to me is the real takeaway. 51 former intelligence officials 5 days after you guys take down the Hunter Biden story and block the New York Post account. 5 days later, 51 former intel officials send a letter and they say, the Hunter Biden story has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. The information operation was run on you guys. And then by extension, run on the American people. And that's the concern. And to Mr. Raskin's point that you guys aren't bound by the First Amendment because you're a private company, okay, maybe so. But your terms of service don't have to comply with the First Amendment. Would that be right, Mr. Roth? They don't have to. You've said that as much in your testimony.
My understanding of the First Amendment is that it protects people and businesses from government, not informs how the...
in your terms of service. So here's what I want to know. Is this a violation of the First Amendment when the government, Mr. Chan, again, sending you an email saying, we think these accounts need to be looked at because they violate your terms of service? That's a different standard. So you got the government saying your terms of service, which don't have to comply with the First Amendment, but the government saying, we don't think these accounts comply with your terms of service. Please take them down. You see a problem there, Mr. Roth?
Mr. Chairman, I'm seeing a flashing red light. I'm happy to answer the question. Do I think that that's a valuable use of the FBI's time? No, but I don't see in a request for review a problem under the First Amendment, no.
I sure do. I thank the gentleman. I yield back.
If we can keep that on screen, if we can not move to the next video, but just keep that there, because I really want to know, as you can see, the FBI agent writing to them has pronouns he, him, his at the bottom there. And I think that's, it's a bit annoying that Jim didn't bring it up more. Probably didn't have time. But that's obviously part of the play that he alludes to, which is you've got FBI agents who are clearly insane. I mean, we've gone over many stories of them suppressing Christians, going after Republicans throughout the previous years, but the most recent one being the Hunter Biden laptop story. And okay, you are clearly a leftist lunatic if you're using pronouns like that. I'm not even going to get into a debate about that for a minute because it's demonstrable. Works in San Francisco, of course you do, bruv. And that individual writes to Twitter, as Jim Jordan is showing, and says, well, we can't censor this story as the government, because that would obviously be illegal. So what we'd like for you to do is to take the story down, because it could be a breach of your terms of service. And this is after everyone in the Twitter room has sat around and gone, is this a breach of the terms of service? Obviously not. It's not hacked. It's real. Okay, we all agree it's not a breach? Yeah, cool. Then the FBI sends them an email with the pronouns at the bottom saying, yeah, but we don't like it. And we recommend you take it down. It could be a violation of the TOS, couldn't it? Come on, please. Ideological supporters in the state writing to Twitter saying, okay, we can't use officially the state resources to censor the right, but what we can do is use you guys as the monopoly of information to censor the right, as our conduit. And at that point, as Roth says, Twitter executives made the decision that it violated the TOS, even though they'd all said it obviously doesn't by reading the TOS. It's been decided. He even says, I don't agree with it. You can't agree with it because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It is just because the FBI wrote to you and said, please take it down. Because we're ideological comrades in this fight. And that fight, well, against who? Well, the fascist in the White House. And we'll go to the subsequent links because, well, we'll get back to Roth's views on the White House. He literally calls them a bunch of fascists. The Trump administration. So yes, I mean, if these people, if we take their own words, that they believe Trump is Hitler and everyone else around him is Hitler, would they be beyond getting an email from the FBI saying censor it and we'll win, and then censoring it? We have the evidence they did it, so it's not. I don't even know what I'm asking. We'll go to the clip here. This is the FBI informant James Baker lying under oath. He says in this clip that he did not speak to the FBI about the Hunter Biden laptop story at any point. We have the emails, bro. So if you go to the next one here, he then goes on to say that he did, because of course the emails are public. So I can't lie anymore and get away with it. Which means he lied to Congress, so that's cool. There you are. There's another guy just openly lying. And then, if we go to the next link here as well, he does say in that clip as well, insists that he was never an agent of the state, though, even though he's now been revealed, yes, I was working with the FBI to censor speech. I don't work for the state. I was just carrying out the recommendations of the state.
Technically.
I wasn't ordered, I was recommended.
Yeah.
What would have happened if you had not carried the recommendations of the FBI? What usually happens if the FBI says to you, really recommend you do this? Do they leave you alone afterwards? So they just drop it? No, they arrest you. So the idea that it's just recommendations is BS. We'll go to Marjorie Taylor Greene because she'd had a really good interaction here. We can't go through all of it, but she quotes Mr. Roth's dissertation. I see some people in the chat mentioning he's nuts.
Yeah.
Yes. In his dissertation, he argues that children should be allowed on Grindr, a homosexual dating app. Hookup app, really. Why would children need to be on a homosexual hookup app?
I daren't say if this is going on YouTube.
Because I suspect him of wanting that. And the people who want that sort of thing, sex with children, are nonces. So, yeah, I think the taking of his position as, I want to be able to nonce, thinking that he might be a nonce, I think that's a reasonable suspicion from his own dissertation. Again, that's not even like a weird tweet he made at 3 a.m. That's his dissertation paper. It was at uni.
It's also the power angle as well. That's what they're arguing for, that why do we have an age limit on the age of consent? Because we're taking away rights and responsibilities of those children. They should be able to decide themselves, because this is a type of oppression that adults...
Yes.
Yeah, and that'll be the argument of some people.
Should we oppress kids? Yes. They're kids. They don't know what they're doing.
That's why they're called children.
But that's not the only thing. And to remind you, Mr. Roth is one of the central people who were running Twitter. He was running the Trust and Safety Council. This guy.
He's probably the one who banned me.
Almost certainly. So they mention, Marjorie Taylor Greene also mentions, that Elon Musk deleted 44,000 accounts once he took over that were known to be promoting child pornography. You turn up, you just find 44,000 accounts promoting child pornography. They've just been left there, no one's deleted them yet. Why did the previous administration not delete that?
Because it wasn't a priority.
She then goes on to quote how Twitter refused to remove child porn they were made aware of as well. In the Twitter leaks, there are instances in which people wrote to Twitter saying, "This is my child.
Yeah.
This is my lawyer. This is a video of him being abused. Take this down.
Yeah.
This is obviously child porn." And Twitter went, "No." They actually responded and said, "No, we're not going to do that."
Because we believe in free speech and free expression.
Yeah, and the trust and safety guy over here. There are a million reasons as to why he's suspected as a nonce, and I think if his hard drive was raided, it would be the right thing to do. But I don't think the FBI are going to do it because he's literally their asset. So there you are, kind of people they're working with. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene just mentions how she was banned for making policy proposals on Twitter. She proposed some policy ideas, as a lawmaker, kind of her job, and they banned her for that because guess what? It was about health.
No.
So. Of course, we ban politicians for saying things should change. Who do they think they are? In charge? Well, then goes to Lauren Boebert, who just mentions that she got a shadow ban for making a joke, has the joke on a massive screen behind her. It is good fun to see her just shout at them and be like, "What the hell?" Like, obviously, it's just a joke, and it's ridiculous. And she's correct to point that out. But it's just her shouting, to be honest. But that's what the Republicans did, which is, why are you censoring people? Why were you promoting noncery the whole time? Why are you working with the FBI and then saying you're not? Why are you lying to us? Okay, so that's I don't want to be biased. So we'll move to the left wing of the House, the Democrats. What did they use this valuable time to do? Whine about libs of TikTok.
No.
They want libs of TikTok removed. It's like, hang on, we got 4 of the most corrupt individuals on the planet sat in front of you, have done the most damage with their corruption in terms of information control and censorship. And your concern is libs of TikTok saying that a children's hospital is offering hysterectomies.
Libs of TikTok phoned up the Boston Children's Hospital, recorded the call.
Yeah.
And they said they would.
They would offer the hysterectomies. But AOC is not bothered by such things as audio-video evidence. Instead, she says in here that libs of TikTok lied about the Boston Children's Hospital giving hysterectomies to children. AOC says that account is still on the platform, isn't it? And then Roth, the suspect nonce, says, regrettably, yes, it is. Regrettably, well, not regrettably, you're no longer in charge of that, so what even business is it of yours? But libs of TikTok did respond, and it is great to see. There is no one I would love more to hate me than Mr. Roth, of all people. So libs of TikTok was also quite happy to see that. In which she's just like, go to hell, don't care. But we'll decide to play that interaction alongside the video libs of TikTok put out of them offering hysterectomies, just to make the point.
Are you aware from August 11th to August 16th, that account posted false information about Boston Children's Hospital, claiming that they were providing hysterectomies to children?
Yes, I am aware of that and other claims from the account.
And are you aware that this lie was then circulated by other prominent far-right influencers?
Yes.
And are you aware that all these claims, which I have reiterated were false, culminated in a real-life harassment and ultimately a bomb threat to the Boston Children's Hospital?
Yes, I am aware.
And this account is still on that platform today, isn't it?
Regrettably, yes, it is.
Gender-affirming hysterectomy is very similar to most hysterectomies that occur. A hysterectomy itself is the removal of the uterus, the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, and the fallopian tubes, which are attached to the sides of the uterus. Some gender-affirming hysterectomies will also include the removal of the ovaries, but that's technically a separate procedure called a bilateral oophorectomy. And not every gender-affirming hysterectomy includes that, and people who are getting gender-affirming hysterectomies do not have to have their ovaries removed.
So, narrative 1, libs of TikTok made up a lie, which resulted in a bomb threat based on a lie that this children's hospital is removing children's ovaries and their uterus on the basis of transgenderism. Reality. Here's the video. What do you want? Like, don't know what to do. Why would they not offer this?
It's AOC. That's what happens when you elect a barmaid to a position of power.
Yeah. Just someone who knows nothing except ideological fighting and will just stand her ground even on the least defensible hills possible, apparently. We go to the next link here, in which we can see more of this. So libs of TikTok being very happy that Mr. Roth over here hates her. Also don't care. This dude is specifically responsible for most people's bannings as well. If you weren't, I don't know, doing Bitcoin scams or something, got banned for that. This is on the issue of, like, is this tweet too far? This is what the trust and safety team were, and this dude was in charge of it. So yeah, if you were banned for hate speech, then this dude, this is the one banning your account. The dude who is discussing whether or not he should be able to meet children on his homosexual dating app, and also is disgusted that fake news such as video evidence is published on his website. Yeah, okay, suck it. I'm so glad Musk is in charge compared to these people. They're awful. She also goes on to mention this tweet from him. Can high school students ever meaningfully consent to sex with their teachers? Here's an article. Yeah.
I mean,
his account's gone.
It's a discussion that people can have. It's not a discussion you'd want to advertise that you think people should have. That just sends the wrong message.
There's a great stone toss meme of Vosh sat there just being like, look, so people who are obsessed with fascists are probably fascists, am I right? Anyway, now back to the age of consent. Because he just endlessly brings it up for no reason. It's like, what do you want? And local man over here, other progressive, sitting around being like, let's talk about consent and children. It's just like, you're suspect. We'll move to the last section here, in which we can see Mr. Roth's own view, which is, firstly, he's not biased, he told the council. It's like, I have absolutely no bias whatsoever. If you go to the next link here, please, then we can see that. In which he tells them, no, the idea he has any political bias whatsoever. However,
everybody's biased.
Yeah, he then gets asked, so why did you say the White House was full of Nazis if you don't have any bias whatsoever, if you're Mr. Neutral over there? I mean, this chap here, it's I do kind of like that they have these massive things. I don't know what they are. They're massive, like, posters.
Yeah.
To
cards.
display, a tweet, for example. Because he tweeted that, believe it was that they were all fascists in the White House or Nazis in the White House. And so this dude just blew up the tweet. There you have it.
Yeah.
And just points to it and goes, so what is your bias exactly? There you are. Actual Nazis in the White House, referring to Donald Trump and his team. Yeah, Mr. No Bias here, who banned all of us because he was in charge and could be trusted. Yeah, this is what these people were. There's also some other obvious, look how rowdy he is. There's some other problems as well mentioned here, that AFBI paid Twitter $3.4 billion. Sorry, million, not billion. One day, maybe. Just to have that sort of influence where they could censor such stories. So, great. There's a taxpayer's money being used as well. I mean, looking at this news, I am more and more on the defund the FBI train. I mean, if this is what the agents are doing with their time, whatever. If it's a unit, then that unit has to go. If it's the whole thing's got to go in the trash.
It's all these. I mean, I don't want us getting rid of full departments in agencies and then trying to rebuild them from scratch again. We have to retake them. The FBI, obviously, if the Republicans win the next election, the top layer of the FBI needs to go. And that then sends the message to the rest of the organisation that things will change.
At the recruitment level, we have to start being like, pronouns in bio, not applicable.
Yeah. Make sure they speak English.
Yes.
Make sure they're not Islamic fundamentalists. Make sure all these checks. You can turn all these agencies around.
If we literally put a random man on the street in charge, the things he would recommend, it would work. The last thing here as well is just also the FBI, just as bad as counterterrorism in the US for their research. This is just listing that their main sources of deciding what is too far right is the Southern Poverty Law Center, who was sued by Maajid Nawaz for saying Maajid Nawaz was an Islamic extremist. Maajid Nawaz being a Muslim who has he was an anti-Muslim extremist, is what they accused him of, even though he's a Muslim. And he spends his time, preaching that you should be a normal Muslim, not a terrorist one.
Who's also a former extremist himself.
Yeah.
He spent time...
But he's an anti-Muslim extremist.
According
to the SPLC.
He was a Muslim extremist. He got jailed in Egypt, I believe.
Yeah.
And then he changed his thinking then, and then since then he's been an anti-extremist.
My point being is just the SPLC, you can't trust them in the slightest. If they're like, local Muslim man hates Muslims.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Their other sources are The Atlantic. Great, so leftist outlet. And then Salon.com, which is bordering on comedy outlet for the right. I don't know if you're familiar with Salon. No. It is the most radical nonsense you've ever heard. Almost always on the feminist bandwagon of the air conditioning shows why rape culture is still prevalent.
Right.
Most people just use it just to laugh at this point because it is pants on heads insane.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's what the FBI is using to decide what is a radical traditionalist Catholic ideology. Let's check Salon.com. What do they think? They think every Catholic on earth is a terrorist. Oh, good job. Okay, let's implement that. There is more incompetence than you ever think in the intelligence services, and this is us learning it in real time for some of the examples, and rightfully, I think, identified. But there's that. Twitter squirming, which at least is good fun.